Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're sitting in a 2012 Volkswagen CC R-Line with a serious rough idle, and sometimes it stalls. It does have a check engine light on, so let's take a look. When we pull up our engine computer, we have a whopping 13 codes. We have some misfire codes, idle control codes, crankshaft, camshaft codes, a lot of camshaft codes. Now that is a lot of codes. So where do we start? Well, we have some insider information. These Volkswagen 2-liters are known for timing issues, especially with their variable valve timing. So that's what we're gonna tackle. Let's head back to the scan tool and we're gonna look at timing data. We wanna be within 3 to 5 degrees deviation. Let's do it. We're gonna pay attention to the scan tool while I start it. This is what we wanna look out for. We have our cam adjustment intake specified or our target. This is what the engine computer wants to see. Right now we're at 28. The one below it is what's actually happening. It's also at 28. So right now with the car off, they're matching. That's great. When we start it, we want to make sure that these are no more than 3 to 5 degrees difference from each other. This top number is what the engine computer is applying to the camshaft phaser. It's semi-important, but the real important information are these two right here. So let's start it up. It kicked me out as soon as I started it, so let's go back into it. And you can see we have 28 on our specified or our target, and we're at negative 35 on our actual. Let me give it a little throttle. It's not changing much, coming up a little, but that's still way off target. This thing is just chugging. Not sure if you can hear that. So we know these are way off. Let's go to our next step. Right here on the passenger side is our camshaft adjusting valve. You just want to disconnect this electrical connector, push and pull, just like that. Now let's start it back up and check our values. Okay, I started it up. We are currently idling. If you look at our specified or our target is 28 and our actual now is 29. Kind of bounces now, it's 28 and a half, 29, but it is right at our target. Oh, we're deviating a little bit. Where's it going? Come back. We're losing it. Now we're getting rough again. It's going negative. Now it's really rough. So it stayed good for a while, but we're right back to where we were. Super rough, and we're over 50 degrees difference on our target versus actual. So that really didn't seem to make a difference. But I still think our issue has to do with our variable valve timing. So my next step, I'm gonna pull that actuator off. There's 3 bolts to pull it off, and behind it is an oil control valve. We'll remove that and get a visual inspection. Back under the hood. These are a 5mm Allen. Push our dipstick out of the way just a little. Wiggle this out. There we go. Just like that. Right in there, that's the oil control valve. Right in the top, there's 2 places for your special tool to slide into. I don't have the official special tool, but believe it or not, in my brake caliper piston kit, I have a couple adapters that fit perfectly. So this one right here, that goes inside. Those 2 little dowels fit right in those 2 little dimple holes. And then this adapter goes right on my ratchet. Also what I have is a breaker bar on the crankshaft and a 24mm socket. That'll prevent the crank from spinning. Then we'll put our tool in here and break it loose. All right, I have my adapter that'll go in first, like that. Then my ratchet, there we go. Now this is reverse thread, so we actually wanna tighten it or turn it clockwise to loosen it. Got it. Not too bad, a little snug, but that was it. Okay, that should slide out like that. And there'll be some oil in it, so just be careful. Wow, this thing had a major failure. Let me show you compared to the new one. This is the new one, I'll show you how it operates. On the end, it has a little spring, and then the middle, you push in and it springs back. And then that moves this little valve inside to allow oil either in or cuts off oil. Our little actuator here, this tip, if I tip it down, see how it protrudes out, just like that. So electrically, this gets pushed out, which pushes on this center, which moves this valve. And then the spring brings it back to neutral. On the new one, it's missing that whole spring piece, and the valve can just come out. So what I'm gonna do is peek in there and see if I can see our spring tip, and hopefully we can retrieve it. I do see a spring in there, so I might be able to get it. Think I got it. There's the spring. Well, I can see the housing in there. I'm gonna see if I can use a little compressed air to blow it out. The problem I'm having is inside, there's a little wall or divider, and the piece I'm trying to get is behind the wall. And I'm just not able to get it with my magnet where it's currently at. I'm just gonna blow in. Hey, that was it. It's on the ground, let me get it. There, that's the tip of it. So I got the retainer and the spring out. That feels great. So maybe try that. If that happens to you, just use a little air. Hopefully it'll just blow it out like it did mine. Okay, let's put in our new one. Slap this in. Remember, reverse threads, so we'll go counterclockwise to tighten it. There we go. Throw our tool on. There we go. Now I do not have a torque spec, so I'm just gonna go based on how it felt coming off. It's good and tight. Okay, there we go. Take our breaker bar off of the crank before we start it. Put this little guy back on, make sure its surface is nice and clean. There we go. I also do not have a torque spec on this either, but just good and snug. Doesn't have to be cranked down too much. You don't want to break these or strip one of them. There we go. Last time it kicked me out as soon as I started it. So let's go ahead and start it first. It did take a little while for it to act up. Let's start it up. There we go. Now let's go into our engine. Specify it in actual. There we go. We're at 2830. Okay, our idle just came down and we're still the same, 2830. That's within our 3 to 5 degrees. So we're looking pretty good so far. All right, that is it. It has been a few minutes and it has not acted up. I think we're good to go. All right, there we go. A relatively simple solution to an otherwise complicated set of codes. If you have misfire codes along with cam position codes, this could be your issue. I have links in the description for the parts and tools used. If you have any questions, comments, post down below. See you on the next one.